Hello, and welcome to another Syvantis Fast class. My name is Travis, and I'm a Dynamics 365 marketing technical consultant here at Syvantis. Today, we're going to be talking about customer journeys. We're going to check out tile functionality, settings, and best practices for customer journeys, all while creating one. When you're a marketer or a sales rep, you're so familiar with your business, brand, and products, and it's sometimes difficult to get into the mind space of your audience. Journeys help you to see your brand from the customer's perspective. They are visual representations of predetermined, curated, yet flexible forward movement toward an end goal. In the app, they literally look like a pathway or a river. With them, you can create a positive and complete customer experience with your brand across touchpoints and at all stages of the sales funnel. The end goal of a journey can be anything your organization wants, but some common examples include buying a product, signing up for a membership, or scheduling a discovery call. You could even design a customer journey to help customers learn how to use a product after they've already bought it, which can increase customer satisfaction. Now let's get a customer journey started. We'll imagine a simple scenario for the journey. The first best practice for a customer journey is to have a clear objective for that journey. So in this case, we'll be hosting a webinar to demo a new product that is currently on pre-order status and comes out in 2 months. Since it is on pre-order and isn't yet available to the public, I want to jumpstart my profit and show that the product will be profitable. Part of that process is getting as many people investing as possible. So our journey will take care of our entire outbound email campaign for the webinar, from the initial invitation, some product education, and webinar registration. And finally, sending out a survey and a special pre-order discount code after the webinar ends. We'll start in the outbound marketing area and navigate to marketing execution and customer journeys. And in here, we will click New. Like other entities in marketing, we can pick from a variety of templates, like a simple email blast or an announcement, but we're going to start from scratch here, so I will hit skip in the bottom right. So here is our designer canvas. A few quick things for navigation here. This caret in the top right shows some initial details about our journey. We can name it. So let's call this one Product Demo Webinar. And we can set a start date and time and make it recurring, but let's leave those be for now. Over here, we have 3 tabs: the designer, where we're at right now, the general tab, and the insights tab, which won't include any insights until the journey is actually live and begins. The general tab includes some locked fields and some editable fields. We can change the name here. We can set a minimum consent level. We can set our target audience as accounts or contacts. And we can do a start, end date, and time, which I'll change now. Our webinar date is January 8th, so I'm going to set the start time to December 8th and the end time to January 12th. Next is time zone. We can enter a purpose and description for the journey. We can also make it a recurring journey for a set number of recurrences over a certain interval, for example, 30 days. We can also add a suppression segment. I'm not going to make this a recurring journey for now, so I'm going to turn this back off. And I want to note that there are a few things here that cannot be edited once the journey goes live. The start time and adding a suppression segment are both locked once you are live with the journey. So make sure that you are confident on both of these before clicking go live. You can save the journey as a draft, and that is fine, but just don't click the go live until you're sure your journey is good to go. Suppression segments allow you to specify one of your segments to omit its contacts from being included in the customer journey. For instance, you may have created a segment of contacts whose emails have hard bounced for you in the past. You could use that as a suppression segment to help protect your sending reputation. But let's go back to the designer canvas. In the top right corner, we have some canvas options. We have undo and redo buttons. You can click to expand the canvas to take up more of your screen. We have a zoom in and zoom out function. We have a switch between horizontal and vertical view if you prefer to see your journey as more of a vertical, like a tree. And then here we have a fit to screen option. So this will just automatically adjust the zoom for your customer journey to fit the entire thing within the screen. So say we were zoomed in, it'll zoom us back out to fit it within the screen. All right, now that we've explored, let's get going on the journey. I'll begin by setting my audience. Our second best practice is very crucial. You must know who your audience is, as that will dictate what we send out, when, and how. My audience is going to be contacts who visited the landing page for this new product, as they've obviously shown interest but aren't quite into the initial sales funnel yet. First and foremost, we'll choose the audience source type, segment, individuals who have updated contact information or who have submitted a form. But we're going to choose segment. Now we'll choose between segment or subscription list and find the segment that we want to use. I'll use a segment I set up for my target audience of pre-order landing page visitors. I can target just one segment or subscription list, or I could add more to this journey by clicking Add Condition. We can now get our actual journey steps going. The first thing to know is that the steps of your journey are determined by tiles. We'll click the blue plus sign here, and you can see all your tile options divided into categories. There are a lot available, so let's just create our whole journey. We'll start with a send an email tile. In here, we can click on it and select our pre-order webinar invite email. The email must be live. You won't see any of your draft emails in this list. So if you're missing it, go back into your emails and make sure that it is set to live. We can click on the email itself to see a preview. And we can scroll down here to set a description. Our company here has a pretty self-explanatory naming policy, so we're not going to set a description right now. A little note here, if you have a button on an email to an event in marketing, which this one does, we'll go to this email elements section and we'll add an item. So we're going to add an event here. We're going to open up our pre-order product demo webinar. So that has set up our send an email tile. Next, we're going to create an if-then tile. This tile will create a branching path, one with a green yes and one with a red no. The premise is we set a condition, and if it is met, the contact will continue down the yes path, and if not, it will go down the no path. If-then tiles provide conditional content based on previous steps in the journey and allows us to respond properly to the actions of the email recipient. For our previous email, we did set a email element for the event, so we can set a source as either the email itself or the event that's attached to the email. We're going to choose the email because we want to set a condition for has been opened. Now we can set a time frame to determine how long it will wait to see if the contact has actually opened the email before sending them down the no path. So we're going to wait 3 days. Now, following along the yes path, next step will be to add an event tile. It's going to be down here in the bottom. Because we wanted to differentiate between contacts who had opened and contacts who didn't open, we're going to set this event now so that we can use it for a condition in the future. We're going to add our pre-order product demo webinar. And next we'll add an additional if-then tile. So this creates another branch on our journey. And we're going to use conditional content for this event tile that we added. And here we can see options of has been attended, registered, or registration is canceled. We're going to add a registration condition. So similarly, we're going to wait for up to 3 days to determine if they've registered for the event. So here, if you're not sure why we're doing a second if then, is because we wanted to differentiate between contacts who received this email but didn't open at all, contacts who opened the email but just didn't register for the event. We could have just had this initial if then tile be checking for people who registered for the event, but we want to send the contacts who didn't open the email at all down a different path than those who did at least open it and look at the contents. For now, we're going to continue down the yes path again for those who did register for the event after opening the email. So we're going to send them a confirmation email. So we're going to add another send email tile. And this is going to include the date and time of the registration and a link to join the webinar, plus some additional details about teasing the product. So we're going to add the registration confirmation. And in this email, we'll also set the email elements to have the event. We do this because we have a button in this email that's going to have a direct link to the join code of the event webinar. Without adding this email element here, that button will not populate when the email is sent. So make sure that if you're doing an event like this, you include that email element. Now we'll pick another if-then tile. So we'll create another branching path here, and because we set the event as an element of the confirmation email, we can use that as conditional content here as well. So now we're going to add the pre-order product demo webinar, and we'll add a condition has been attended. And once again, we didn't do that back here because we wanted to separate between contacts who didn't open the email and contacts who did. So conditional content for this tile includes the same as before. We'll choose has been attended. And if yes, we're going to add an email tile here, which would be a thank you for attending with a pre-order discount code. Now we will add a wait until tile, which is going to delay the continuation of our journey until after our event, which is on January 8th. So I'm going to set it for January 9th at noon. And now that that is set, we'll add another if-then branch. So because we have the event set as an element on the confirmation email, we'll be able to use that as a source on this condition. So we can set the pre-order product demo and then has been attended. So in the if yes here, we're going to add another send an email to send a confirmation or to send a thank you for attending email. I know it might seem like it's getting complicated here with all these branching paths, but let's zoom out here and take a look at the whole journey real quick. So really, we're on a path where our audience has done everything that we want them to do. They opened the email, they registered for the event, and now they've attended the event, and that's great. But unfortunately, not everyone is going to follow this exact path, and we want to accommodate them while finding ways to still get their attention and their follow through even though our first attempt at outreach fails. That's what these branching paths are for, and we can go back and fill these paths in now. Let's start from the end and work our way back to the beginning. At the end here, we have if no, and that means that they registered but did not end up making it to the event. Even though they didn't attend, they did seem at least interested by registering for the event. Maybe they just got busy at the last minute and couldn't attend. So we can attend one last outreach and add an email tile and send a sorry you couldn't make it email. This will include a link to the webinar recording, and maybe they'll watch the webinar later and end up ordering the product. Who knows? Working our way back one path, remember here they opened the email but didn't end up registering for the event. These things can happen. We open emails, get distracted, and then forget to return to them. So we just want to reach out once again. We're going to add another send an email tile here, and we're going to pick the webinar reinvite. This is pretty similar in content to the previous email, with just a few shifts to hopefully gain their interest again. And we'll set up another if-then tile here, and we're basically going to end up copying what we have up above. But for time's sake, I won't set up all these next steps. So I'll just kind of explain what it is. If yes, the email is open, then I'll send them down the same process as before, have the system check to see if they register for the event, and then send a registration confirmation, wait for the attendance, and then send the thank you for attending. But if they don't open the email, I can make a choice to either send them yet another email invitation which is fine, or I could just stop the journey here, which is signified by this end. We may do better by accepting that they just aren't going to attend this time and not bother them more about the topic. In fact, it's another best practice to not go overboard with your emails. We can take the hint here. Remember, they did just get 2 emails and didn't open either. They may just not be interested right now. Finally, let's pop all the way back to the first if-then tile when they didn't open the first invite email. Here again, I'll send a email tile to send them a slightly different webinar re-invite email. To hopefully get their attention. Then we'll do another if-then tile and set the condition to be if the email is opened. So if yes, meaning they do open it, we can send them on a similar path as above, where they choose an event tile and go to marketing, see if they registered for the event, webinar, and so on. And then if no, meaning they don't open it, we have yet another choice to either extend the journey or just end the journey now. Remember, this doesn't have to be the end of your outreach to that specific customer. It's just the end of inviting them via email to this specific webinar. I'm sure you've gotten too many emails from a company before, so consider your own experience here. Do you want that third email or not? Sometimes yes, and sometimes you don't. You may not want to risk them getting annoyed and entirely unsubscribing from your future emails. So now we've set up a pretty standard customer journey that looks a bit more complex than it really is. You can always move it up and down to have a top-down view if you'd like. But we know all these branches are just repeats of pretty much the same scenario depending on if the recipient opened the first, second, or even third email attempt. The nice thing though is this is the only time in the outreach process that we have to ponder over these steps. When we make the journey live, our system does the rest of the work automatically, and because of the work we put in, the system will automatically account for each customer's behavior and decide the best path forward based on what we told it to do. Now we just have to check our settings. We want to make sure our audience is correct. We have all of our steps set up correctly, and that we have a suppression segment set if we do want one. The start date is established and the end date is set, and after those steps, we could go live. A couple things I do want to mention now that we've gotten to the end. First, going live isn't the same as starting the customer journey. You want to set the start date and time in the general tab to be the actual time and day you want the first step of this journey to begin. So in our case, when this first email for the webinar invite is going to go out. So we encourage you to have a delay between officially going live and when the journey starts to allow the system some buffer time, and also allows for last minute cancellations if you notice something is wrong after you hit the go live button. Next, when you go live, marketing will run an error check, which you can also run at any time up here at the top when you're creating a journey. This check will populate errors in the top bar of the screen, and they include things like not having an audience or having a start end time set properly. And finally, we didn't use every tile, but there are quite a few more you can take a look at. We do have an infographic describing all these tiles available for customer journeys at the moment, and Microsoft is always updating the process of adding additional ones too. I will add that to our chat. Customer journeys in D365 marketing are quite easy to get the hang of, and they can range from super simple email blasts or really complex ongoing pipelines, whatever you really need to achieve your customer outreach goals. We're happy to train you further on customer journeys, and we are currently creating a training course that will include modules on email marketing as well. So you can go to learn.syvantis.com to see our course offerings. You can also contact us for a one-on-one training if you would like. Thank you so much for joining us today. We really hope you'll join us again next week when our focus will be on Business Central and reconciling payment journals. Have a great day.